Okay, this is then from another textbook. It is section B, question 1. If you look at that, you got an equation, but you've got a quadratic trinomial on this side. So which means you must first factorize this quadratic trinomial. Okay, now remember that when we done the factorization, people, of quadratic trinomials, I said to you, you must know the method from A1, A2, B1, and B2. So if you know those, then you will now recognize these are both positive. Therefore, this is an A1. Okay. Now what we do first, we find the factors of the first term, of which this is a. Okay? We call that ax squared plus bx plus c. That is what the general formula for a quadratic trinomial is. So in this case, a is 1. So you write down your factors for the first term, which is 1 and 1. Okay, then you find your factors for the third term, which is 15 in this case. So I now know it must be 3 and 5. It could also be 15 and 1, but I'm not going to even go there. Okay, so you write down your factors for the first term, you write down the factors for your second term, then you must cross multiply. Okay, so 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, and because this is A1, both of these must be positive. Okay, and if you add 3 plus 5, then you get 8. And if you look at this 8, it is the same as your middle term. So you must always get this sum or difference, depending on which of these four methods it is, you must get so that you have your middle term. Okay, and then it's easy. Then these two numbers go into one bracket, and these two numbers go into another bracket, and you just transfer your sign. From here, this becomes a plus. From there, this becomes a plus. Okay, but now if you look at your two brackets, remember it's not only 1 and 1, because you've got x squared. So it must really be 1x, and that one must be 1x. And if you multiply these two out, you get 1x squared. Okay, so you can have x or 1x, it makes no difference for that first number. Then in the first bracket, you must have a plus 3, and in the second bracket, you must have a plus 5, equaling 0. Okay, now to solve the equation. Now there's an important principle that you must now understand. If I multiply two numbers with each other, okay, and I need to get 0, I need to get 0, then one of these two numbers must be 0. Okay, let's say that first number is 2, and I ask you 2 times what equals 0, then that what must be a 0. Okay, or the other way around. Let's say this number is unknown, and that one is 10 for whatever, and it must give you a 0. Okay, then that also must be a 0, because otherwise, people, you cannot multiply by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever to get a 0. Okay, so a number must be multiplied by 0 to get 0. So if you now look at your two brackets, people, this bracket is one factor, and that bracket is another factor. Okay, and in between the brackets, people, is a multiplication. So it's really the same as a bracket times a bracket equals 0. Okay, which means one of these two brackets must be a 0 to get 0. Okay, and that is what we're going to do now. You take your first bracket, you say 1x, or just x, plus 3 equals 0, or the other bracket, x plus 5 equals 0. That is this principle applied, okay? One of these two brackets must be 0 if you need to get a 0 as an answer. And now it's really easy, because now you solve for x. Okay, so x equals, You must take this to the other side, then it becomes negative 3. Okay? Or you solve for x, meaning you must take the 5 to the other side, then that becomes a negative 5 on that side. So that's your solution. X must be either negative 3 or x must be negative 4. So you get 2 possible answers, not only one answer. Okay, so I repeat, this first stuff here is your normal factorization of quadratic trinomials. Okay, that's the previous chapter's work. Sorry. And then when we solve equations, so they give you a 0 here, then this step, or these 2 steps, is the new work for solving then an equation. So you must just first factorize, and then you make either bracket equal to 0. So it's either the first bracket to 0 equal to 0, or it's the second bracket equal to 0, and then you just simply solve for x. You find the value for x. Okay, I hope that helps.